signs that an ex-partner is pretending to be over someone is the classic hot and cold behavior patterns. Now, this presents in emotional roller coaster, where one moment they are warm and engaging, sitting on your lap, you know, hanging out with you at the club or the bar. Y'all are dancing together and drinking and making out. The next day, they become distant and unresponsive. This is not a minor mood swing, but rather a predictable cycle of approach and avoidance that can leave the recipient feeling drained and confused. And this can happen from both men and women. You understand? In a real world context, this can manifest as an out of the blue text message reminiscing about a shared memory, them liking a picture that you have of them from way back when, or you know, them uploading a photo of the two of y'all from this one vacation that y'all had that the other person really liked. The interaction may seem very pleasant, sparking a sense of hope that this can be rectified. And this often is followed by a period of complete silence. A subsequent attempt at casual conversation might be ignored or met with a cold, delayed, one word reply. Then days later, the same ex partner may be the first to view a social media story that you posted. And this phenomenon is often described as rubber banding. They pull the other person back to a being close to them, only to snap back to a distant position. Now, the psychology behind this behavior offers a direct window into their internal conflict. And the hot behavior often comes from moments of weakness, loneliness, or nostalgia, where they genuinely miss their former partner and reach out to soothe that feeling. However, once that moment has passed or the recipient responds warmly, a sense of panic can set in. And the cold behavior is a defense mechanism. Their brain may remind them of the reason for the breakup and they become fearful of their own feelings or giving false hope, right? So, say for example, they break up with you. You don't have to know why. You're experiencing this push pull method, this hot cold method. They, even if they broke up with you for something insignificant, outside of the reason why they broke up with you, you're otherwise a good person, right? To them. And they may remember that because you're not around anymore. And that nostalgia might lead them to bonding with you closely. And then they remember why they left and they have to remind themselves to push you away. That's an issue. An individual who is genuinely over a past relationship tends to act with consistency. They don't want you no more. They don't want you no more. And in this particular scenario, I'm just going to be real with you guys. Like, if you break up with somebody, like truly, because we have different types of breakups. We have the grandstand breakups where there has to be a chaotic episode that occurs in order for the breakup to be finalized. The chaotic episode, they're yelling and fussing and cussing at each other. Somebody might start throwing things. Then you have that person that's yelling across the house as they take their sweet time packing their stuff so that they can storm out of the house with whatever they can carry and make a bunch of noise in the yard and screaming and cussing and fussing and disturbing the neighbors and hopping an Uber and then disappear. Right? Then you have those that have to do that final mic drop moment where they're done, but they want to have an intervention with you before they leave. So while you're gone, they take their sweet time yet again to pack up all of their stuff, have it all stacked up by the door so that, or even worse, have it all loaded up into a vehicle. You come back to the house looking at a moving crew, and they've got that one last suitcase in the house, which is the ideal mic drop moment. And they're going to tell you what they want to tell you. There's no changing their mind. They're going to enjoy the begging and pleading that you're going to give them, but they've already paid these people to pack up the truck. So the truck is already packed, and they will make their moment and walk out of the door. It's crazy. People actually do this. And they will sit there and they will wait for you to come back to the house. Ah, and well, your Michael, your birthday is in 2 days. Thank you very much. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to you too, Michael. See, my fans remember. That's my homie from way back when. Uh, Speaking of, on a side note, I lost a game, the first out of 10. I'm about to get 20 more. um, yep, 20, 20. He said 29 again. I'll be goddamn. I am not trying to go backwards. Women want to stay 29. I'm trying to get as old as possible, as fast as possible. If I could make it to 130 and still be able to produce 209 kids if I started now, I would be swinging that meat. But I, nah, I think I probably just stop at like five. Uh, yeah, six between three women. Either way. But as I was saying, when we look at the individual that waits for you to come back so that they can make their peace, so that they can walk out of your life, they're always doing these things for attention. Because the person that is truly done with you, that's the motherfucker that took all day shit while you was gone, left, locked the door for you. So when you came back, nothing was in that house. All the numbers are blocked. All the social medias are blocked. You don't know what the hell just happened. Your house looked like a robbery, but that bitch is clean. That is when a person is done. When they storm out in a rage and then they come back a few days later, I gotta come back and get my thing. They're not done with you, bro. They're not done with you. Because if you really wanted that shit when you left the first time, you would have left with that shit. That's just plain and simple. When a person is truly done with you, any communication is typically stable and exclusively platonic. If it occurs at all, because a lot of times when they're done with you, they don't talk to you at all. It doesn't swing wildly between intimate at sometimes and distance at another time. Indifference is quiet and steady. The emotional chaos of hot and cold behavior is the opposite, and it's a clear sign of unresolved feelings. A second major sign that an ex is fiending for you and they are expressing a level of indifference is a sudden and dramatic change in their social media presence, often curating a new life that appears for some shape or form perfect. It's not just a regular posting, it's an over the top performance, often designed for a specific audience member, the former partner. Oh, yeah, never hear from me again. That, bro, when I'm finished with a relationship, I fall off the face of the earth in the literal sense. You don't know where I am, you don't know where you can find me, and you cannot contact me at all. I block you everywhere. Social media, this podcast, all of my phone numbers, emails, you are blocked everywhere. We don't hang out in the same spots. We don't go to the same places. You're not going to run into me by accident. It don't work that way. That's not how this goes down. So you will never see or hear from me again. Talking about it's a small town. Shit, it ain't that small. Unless your ass then posted up outside of my address like a CIA agent waiting on me to come outside, we are not crossing paths. And a lot of these people are very passive aggressive, but you'll notice that though. Before the breakup, a social media activity may have been unremarkable, uh, coffee shops, work activity, funny memes, anything like that. But post breakup, their feed can begin to look professionally produced, side angles, frame changes, their constant posts of them out with friends on spontaneous trips, trying new hobbies that they never previously expressed interest in when they were in a relationship. And every post is crafted to project the message that my life is just fine without you. And not only is it just fine without you, it is significantly better. Look, he's saying we don't go to the same gym anymore. Shit, we wasn't going to the same gym when we was together. So we not going to the same gym now that we not together. Here's the thing. I tell you people on a regular basis, do not get anything when you are single blended in to anything when you're not single. You have your singles gym. You get your girlfriend or your wife a membership for her gym. You, fellas, can attend her gym as a guest, get the premium membership. When she's not going to the gym with you, she's not going to your gym because she don't know where the hell your gym is at. If you've got an LA Fitness gym membership, you are not joining her up with an LA Fitness gym. Straight up. Y'all not going to the same spot. If you have a Planet Fitness gym membership, she can have an LA Fitness gym membership. And then if y'all break up, y'all ain't got to change gyms because you went to her gym as a guest. Now, ladies, I know y'all gonna say, yeah, I'm gonna tell you something right now. You have the ability to work out at home with your man. Y'all can go running together. Y'all can go biking together. Y'all don't need to bench press nothing at the gym together. You can have your own gym membership and he can have his own gym membership. The same way you can have your own nightclubs, he can have his own nightclubs, he can have his own gentlemen's bars, you can have your own Chip and Dale clubs where y'all want to go with this girls' night out kind of thing, and you don't bring your partner to those singles spots, right? When y'all go places as a couple, y'all are supposed to go to new places that y'all have not been before single so that y'all can create new memories in the first place. Now, if y'all like these spots together, y'all are going to identify these new locations as your favorite spot, right? But as your favorite spot, you are not trying to uh, have your favorite all you can eat buffet become the couple spot. Because if y'all break up, she like it, you like it too. Now y'all gonna bump into one another at the spot. That's not what's happening. So if I got a favorite buffet spot, you will never know about it because that's my spot. It's almost like um, you kind of see it in the movies when somebody has an argument, they break up, and the person disappears, and the other partner is looking for them, all in a rain and everything like that for dramatic effect, and they can't find the person. That's because it's hold on. I'll get that. I'm gonna let you hold that one for a minute. Uh, so they don't know where your personal spot is. So if you have a place on a beach, if you watch the sunset off the edge of a cliff in a safe manner, a certain park that you go to, a certain location where you park your car and watch the stars and stuff like that, they don't know about that location. They can't find you because that's your personal spot. That's how you vent. That's how you decant. Everything else that they know about, y'all can go ahead and rock that wave. He says, bro looks like a side character from the Matrix. Well, yeah, yeah. Actually, in order for you to recognize me from the Matrix, I would not technically be a side character. I would be the main character. I would be the bald black dude that teaches the dude how to get into the Matrix and do it well. I would be the dude who sells the ship while he's under. I would be the dude that makes it to the final movie and survives. The only one who didn't die out of the original cast. Which, if you think about it, I couldn't be a side character if I'm the one who's still there when the other guy becomes the Oracle. Think about that. Mike says, so you're saying your wife's not good enough. Technically, nobody's good enough for anybody else. To be precise, the ideology is that if you find somebody that meets about 80% of your expectations, which is above passing, then the other 20%, if you could tolerate that bullshit, that's a relationship. But that requires negotiation for the other 20%. So 8 out of 10 things that you got going on are non-negotiable expectations for the behavior, and the other two things are flexible. So they're not perfect. Ideally, if your list of expectations are small, you might find somebody that meets the minimum quantity of expectations that you have, and you might call them perfect because you're not expecting much. When you start expecting more things, you start realizing that they're not going to meet those expectations. And as you realize that, you're going to determine whether or not that's going to be okay. If you can flex on it, then it's okay. If you can't flex on it, it's going to become a problem where one or two things is going to happen. You're either going to force them to change or y'all are going to break up because they don't want to change. So technically, nobody is technically ever good enough for the other person, especially when we're in a breakup. Because today we're talking about your ex, not your current. So your ex wife is not good enough because if she was good enough, she would still be your wife. Your ex girlfriend is not good enough because if she was good enough, she'd still be your girlfriend. Your ex husband, your ex boyfriend, they're not good enough because if they were good enough, they would still be your husband or your boyfriend. That's the ideology there. But your personal space that you go to vent when your romantic partner getting your damn nerves, that personal space is not supposed to be disclosed to them because you don't want them to come and invade your personal space for that situation. While there is supposed to be a reasonable level of transparency in a relationship, there's supposed to be a reasonable level of anonymity in that relationship and autonomy in that relationship where they do not know every single thing about you. They know enough about you to function. They know enough about you to predict your patterns of behavior. They know enough about you to develop a level of trust, but they don't know enough about you to compromise your sanity. Because if you need personal space and they're hovering in every location you go to get away from them so that you can recover, that's going to drive you up the wall. He said, Doctor Who. Doctor Who is a phenomenal guy, but I don't remember the brother that was playing Doctor Who. But I believe they did have at least one. Well, he was like the 57th Who, but you know, which, like this podcast, it's bigger on the inside. you know, quick, Mike, real quick. That would be the funniest insult to comment. I call her Hoo Ha Doctor Who because it's bigger on the inside. Okay, I'm gonna behave. That's my inappropriate comment for the day. For far less dad jokes, make sure you like and subscribe. Now, a more subtle layer to this performance of breakups. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to tell you. A more subtle layer to this performance in breakups is when they begin mirroring the new interests of their ex. This is when you know that they're not over you because this stuff that when y'all was together, they did not give a fuck what it was. They was not doing it. But now that y'all broke up, they're doing it better than you. If the ex partner posts about a new hobby like hiking, it is not uncommon to see the performing ex post a picture from a hiking trail a week later. So you hike, you're posting pictures of hiking because that's what you do. Your ex will fucking topple a bigger mountain, travel a further distance. You run 5K a day for the sake of your physical health. They're joining a fucking marathon. You uh, uh, work on cars. They come back with a souped up Prius or some shit. You know, you know, whatever you normally do. Like if you're a gamer, they might be a griefer. They might get on the game and like throw a bunch of money on and get to level 1,000. And they just come and troll you all day long. Like these are the kind of things that people do, right? And this can be a subconscious attempt to maintain a shared reality and show that they are still on a similar path as you, even though y'all are heading in different directions now. Well, it sounds like motivation, but it's more like one upping you. Because here's the thing, when we start talking about social media posts, you and I could have climbed the same mountain, but we didn't have to climb that mountain the same way. You could have climbed that mountain by walking. I could have climbed that mountain by having somebody drive me to the top of that mountain. You're taking a picture where you stopped, which is probably halfway up the mountain because you got tired. I'm at the peak of the mountain because a helicopter dropped me down at the top, and I just took a bunch of photos like Will Smith doing Drake dances on top of the New York Bridge, and then just come back. But you already know that he wasn't doing that Kiki dance on the top of that bridge by climbing up there his damn self. Exactly my point. 14,410 feet from Mount Rainier. Now, that's what, 3 miles? Because it's like 5,280 miles per, or 280 feet per yard. So that's close to 3 mile hike. Now, imagine if you can make that 3 mile hike on Mount Rainier. And then imagine that because you got to the top of Mount Rainier, that your ex went to the top of Mount Everest a week later. That's just one upping. You just know that they're doing that on purpose. Now, truth is that if you wasn't following their post, you would not know that they was doing the stupid stuff. But if y'all have mutual friends, you might hear from one of your mutual friends that their that your ex they seen on that post toppled a bigger mountain than you did. Bear Reiner, you know what? I wish these females would go out there because I be listening. I be listening. They be talking about they want the bear over the man in the woods. You would do you would do better with the bear because if she get the bear, then he's free because it don't matter if the bear becomes a prisoner of the wife or if the wife gets mauled by the bear, the man is safe. In both scenarios, the man is safe. But just like in the Jungle Book, if a man was in the woods, he'd probably be safer with the bear than the woman because the woman would be trying to castrate both the man and the bear and put their testicles in her purse. Got the bear cleaning and got the man cooking. I'm trying to tell y'all in 2025, these women is dominating everything aggressive, aggressively. But I can't knock it, ladies. If y'all can tackle the world, y'all can conquer the world. Just build something when you're done. Now, experts suggest this is rarely a sign of genuine happiness when your ex is posting all of these um, best life living scenarios on their social media immediately after a breakup. Because truth of the matter is that when you break up from somebody, uh, your social media platform should have an era of grief. If you, honest to God, ladies and gentlemen, if you really cared about the person that you broke up with, whether it is a month, 3 months, 6 months, you should be posting in a phase of sadness. You're supposed to be, if you truly cared about the other person. If y'all was dating today and y'all broke up tomorrow, and the next day you're posting like that other person was never in your life before, that is a front. Like you just fired a cast member. That it doesn't work that way. You know what I mean? Even in the sitcoms, when they write a character off the script, the characters still in the show mourn the loss of the character that's not there for at least 3 to 5 episodes. You're not supposed to go from having photos of couples to, singles life. Like the singles life is the best life because everybody knows that the singles life sucks. It sucks. It sucks. You understand? The whole dating field thing, and from both sides, the men having to ask and the women having to be asked profusely, like a fucking door-to-door salesman. Men have to ask for connection on a regular basis to get rejected on a regular basis, and like unexpected solicited calls, women are continuously being approached when they least suspect it by the most unexpected person, continuously propositioning the fact of companionship. It sucks. you know, then you have to put on a front to behave with the person. That sucks. You can't be yourself. If you want to fart, you can't fart. Look. Michael says, "See my new girlfriend? This is what I'm talking about. See my new girlfriend." So the ideology is that it's not made for the expectation of success. It is made for the ability to let the ex know that I'm doing fine without you. But the true contentment is lived, not broadcast. So individuals who are genuinely content do not feel compulsive needs to document every moment to prove it. This behavior is a performance, and its primary goal is to manage the ex partner's perception of them. If I was in a relationship, if y'all even knew about it, when the relationship was over, you wouldn't know about it because that relationship doesn't define me. If I was in a relationship and I made sure that you knew about it and the relationship was over, and then I made you believe that the relationship being over was the best thing that happened to me, and now I'm doing so much, but that would be a front where the maximum quantity of acknowledgement of it is that, oh, we broke up, 5 minute conversation, it's done. Best life ever. That's a front. That's a front. It is often an act of insecurity driven by a bruised ego and the fear that their ex is doing better than they are. That's one of the reasons why you would get that. And beyond the public performance, a more subtle and unorthodox sign is when an ex partner edges in what can be described as undercover surveillance. Ladies, because they are not over the relationship, they attempt to gather information without being obvious. They'll see you going somewhere. Watch. Let me give you some situations. Like the first tactic involves using mutual friends as informal detectives. They might casually ask their friend, "How is their ex partner doing?" Attempting to frame it as simple politeness. However, if this becomes a pattern or the question gets more specific, particularly about the ex's dating life, it is clear that they're trying to keep tabs. Oh, yes, the ultimate form of stalking. It's the ultimate form of stalking. If they were to see you in passing, which is why I make sure that they don't. One, here's the thing. Typically, I travel at night. I love to travel at night. It's cooler out. It's dark. You can't see the Terminator 3 arsenal that I'm carrying with me, the Rambo style quality of get it done. I got more with me than T.I. when they picked him up. And it's easier to travel in the dark, right? But in order for my partner to know that, my ex partner to know that, my ex partner would have to be casing the scene. And when I go places, I like to go far. I don't like to go right near the house. I don't walk very far, but I will drive half a day to go somewhere else. So if I'm going to go somewhere, it's not going to be in the neighborhood. It's going to be in a different city, probably a different state when I leave. So you would have to follow me for 4 or 5 hours to figure out where I'm going, figure out what I'm doing, and all of these situations. But you have other people who, they just live their normal lives. You got your ex standing outside the Starbucks with binoculars, watching you order coffee and talk to the girl at the register, and then they'll correct you about it. You've got exes that will follow you to the gym, and they're in there. How do they think that you don't see them? Like just because they're wearing all black, they've got a baseball cap and sunglasses on, like they all of a sudden became invisible. Like you just rolled a 20 die, and now you have the cloak of invisibility. Like I can't see you now because you're like she would have did better with a mustache and a bald head. He said because most girls carry a pistol in their purse. Uh, they should, but most girls don't. Most guys carry a pistol in their purse. They're called satchels now. And actually, these young boys uh, in their early 20s are carrying small backpacks with long straps. And everybody's got a Glock 22 or Glock 23 Australia. And, the kids out here reckless. So they got the backpack instead of having like a holster kind of thing, concealed carry kind of thing. They have backpack. So hand in backpack means they grab the weapon. That's what it means. That's what it always means. When they start unzipping the backpack, you might as well run because there's something in the backpack that probably got a banana clip. Because they only get a backpack big enough for the firearm that they have. So if they've got something like a 45, the gun probably this big, the backpack probably that big. You know what I mean? If they had like a mini clob with the fold down butt stop, you know what I mean? They might have like a full size backpack so that when they unzip the backpack, they can pull that out and just that's what I'm trying to tell you. It's ridiculous. Sounds like a stalker. It is a stalker. It is a stalker. The second tactic is going to be accidental physical proximities. Suddenly, they may begin showing up at their ex's favorite coffee shops, gyms, other frequent locations, and then act surprised upon seeing you. And a lot of times this will happen where, especially if they're coming to your restaurant, like, so let's say you're on a date with someone new at your favorite restaurant. This is why you don't take your ex to your favorite restaurant. Your ex will have a date, pass you, pass your date table, introduce their new boyfriend to you on your date with your new girlfriend, which does two things. It tries to make you feel bad to show that she's moving on. It does three things because it tries to show that she's confident and capable of moving on when she can't. And it ruins your ability to start a new relationship with a new girl because women are jealous hearted, more so than men. And the fact is that if your new girlfriend is insecure that you are still talking with your recently ex girlfriend, this date ain't going nowhere. Oh, he said swinger party. It's not likely to become a swinger party, Michael. It's likely to become a cold shower. That's what it's likely to become. It's not likely to become a swinger party. You'd like it to become a swinger party, but it isn't going to become a swinger party. But truth be told, he's disappointed. Truth be told, though, while one or two instances could be a coincidence, especially if you're in a small town and y'all don't have very many locations to go to, and y'all all historically go out at the same time of day, because it's the habit of your city, it can happen once or twice. Repeated occurrences, on the other hand, are often a calculated move to place themselves in their ex's orbit, hoping for a chance encounter. And what happens is like if your ex knows your routine, it could be that your ex boyfriend knows uh, uh, the Barnes and Nobles that you typically buy your books at, or uh, if your ex girlfriend knows the gaming store that you usually go and buy your games from, they will go there typically before the time of day that you would go there, and they would linger in that spot so that they were there first, and then you would show up and pass them to make it seem like you bumped into them because they were there first. But they were there for like 3, 4 hours waiting on you to show up. It happens. It happens. Like I said, once or twice. Yeah, it might be a coincidence, but frequently it's orchestrated. And then if you couple that with what I said earlier, if they're into things now that y'all are broken up that they were not interested in when y'all were in a relationship, like they didn't like the fact that you played video games, what the fuck are they doing in a gaming store now that y'all are not together kind of stuff? That's the stuff. Yo, Nelly, what's going on? Good to see you. Did she have a knife? If she had a knife, she probably wouldn't get too far with it. Because probably wouldn't get too far with it. Um, but the idea is that you know that something is up. Finally, there's the display of over the top platonic support. This is, ladies, I'm just going to tell you, this is probably going to be something that women are going to do more than men. Men do this behavior too. They may try to remain friends. This is a female behavior, trying to remain friends. Let's just be friends. We're going to break up and just be friends. Not guys. Guys, we can be fuck buddies, but after we break up, we're not going to be friends. Uh, that's a chick move. Let's be friends. A female will have a male friend that is an ex and have 5 or 7 male ex friends. A male will have 5 or 7 different fuck buddies. Big difference. And we ain't smashing them or we ain't talking no more. Right? Huge difference. Women are okay with the platonic relationships. Men are not. So this is a female behavior pattern right here because they're going to try to remain friends, but it's an unusually intense friendship where they position themselves as a number one cheerleader for you, wanting to know all the details of the ex's new life. Who's your new girlfriend? This, that, and the third. Oh, I'm just trying to protect you. That they may even be overbearingly protective by finding out that the new girlfriend in your life is a cheater. You broke up with her for the same reason, but that don't change nothing. And she's going to try to help you and save you and protect you. Or, if you're in a relationship where you're having romantic problems, uh, your ex is the first person to give you all of the advice that she would not have followed in a relationship with you. All of the advice to help you with your relationship, because as long as she knows that your relationship is struggling, she's satisfied that you're not happy without her. So she'll help you fix it. These are things that'll happen. And this is often a strategy to stay deeply embedded in your life under the guise of a friendship, keeping the ex close as a form of emotional security, even though the physical intimacy is no longer in a relationship. Shit, if you was on her friends list the first time, you should never have been in a relationship. He said you're now on a friends list again. You are no longer on the field. You have been benched. But it's a permanent bench. Now got less field time than the mascot. But this is a method of keeping someone in their life without admitting to romantic feelings. So they can still have the emotional love for you without giving you the physical intimacy that comes with it. Now, for individuals that finding these signs to be very familiar, it's important to seek out information that can provide clarity in these confusing situations. Accessing expert guidance can be a crucial step on the journey to healing and empowerment. So while some signs are subtle attempts to manage internal feelings, this next sign is an overt tactical move. A fourth sign is the active manufacturing of jealousy. This is one of the oldest and most transparent indicators that someone is still emotionally invested in another's uh, reaction. This behavior goes beyond simply moving on and dating new people. It is about ensuring the ex partner knows about their new dating life and that this information is framed to elect a response. For example, again, they're going to accidentally let it slip, let it be known to a mutual friend that they've been on quote unquote amazing dates. Maybe even shagging a few people, but maybe releasing all kinds of juicy details about inappropriate compromising performances that they did that they normally would not have done in their own original relationship. Knowing that that news will get back to the ex, or in some situations at a social gathering, they may be overly flirtatious with someone else where you can see it while repeatedly glancing over to make sure that you're watching. The focus is not on the new person, it is on the ex's reaction. In the digital world, this is even more blatant because they may post a picture with a new person suspiciously soon after the breakup with a capture like, finally finding my happiness, which can be interpreted as a direct comment on the past relationship. They might even begin interacting with people they knew their ex was insecure about. It's a calculated move designed to provoke. Worst thing in the world for you to have is your ex starting to have interactions with someone in your social group. So you remember like that 70s show where the girl was first dating Kelso, then she started dating the other guy, and then she went back to Kelso. And I think one time she dated Fez for a little bit. Like it wasn't Donna. Donna stayed with Foreman, but the other girl, she kind of was with everybody else in the group. That kind of situation, not supposed to happen. It's not supposed to go down. The logic here is that when you see this, you are supposed to try to avoid it. But the psychology here is a twofold scenario. First, it's a test to see if they can still elect an emotional response from you. This is going to be a test that happens in other ways because if they're overly nice to you and you're receptive of it, they know that they still got their foot in the door. If they make the excuse to come over to your house to come and get their stuff and you invite them over, take time out of your day, they come over to the house and instead of your stuff being outside with the door locked, they invite you in. That lets them know that they still have the opportunity to uh, connect with you. If they sent you a text message and you called, or if they called and you answered, These are ways that they know that they can elect an emotional response from you, even if that communication leads into yet another argument where you ghost each other for a few more weeks. As long as they can trigger a response from you, they know that they still have a hook in, at least one hook. An ex's jealousy or anger in some situations serves as proof that they still have an emotional hold. So your ex's behavior pissing you off lets them know that they still have control, making you sad, changing your mood, which is why I told you that argument that should have never occurred is just their way of knowing they can still piss you off and they're satisfied with that, which can soothe a bruised ego. Second, it can be a misguided attempt to win the person back. If they're not done with you yet, they will make you jealous and then you will fight for your right to be in that position. The flawed logic is going to suggest that if the ex becomes jealous, they will realize what they have lost. It's a manipulative and immature strategy that stems directly from the unresolved feelings that we already knew existed. Reports on interpersonal dynamics often state that the true opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. A powerful indicator that an ex is pretending to be over someone is the presence of strong, lingering emotions, both negative and positive. On one hand, this can manifest as anger and a competitive spirit. If an ex is still finding reasons to be angry long after the breakup, bringing up old arguments or assigning blame, it is a sign that they are still emotionally entangled. The anger often serves as a shield for the underlying hurt. The frequent this frequently goes hand in hand with a bizarre need to win the breakup by appearing to move on faster or be more happier. And this competition is fueled by insecurity, not genuine progress. On the other hand, this emotional investment can appear in moments of vulnerability, particularly late at night, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, when daily distractions fade. This is when an unexpected I miss you text comes, a drunk dial occurs, or a nostalgic message about a shared memory might be sent. These messages are raw and unfiltered leaks of their true feelings, which are too strong to suppress in unguarded moments. So, someone who is genuinely at peace with a breakup does not have the energy for such anger, nor are their late night consumed with thoughts of their ex. They could give two shits about their ex because their ex is their ex. Strong emotions, whether they're positive or negative, signify that the ex partner remains a major player in their emotional world, right? A definitive breakup involves the separation of two lives, including the often painful process of exchanging those belongings. So, a telling sign is when an ex deliberately delays this process, using their leftover possessions as an anchor. Oh, I haven't come and gotten my stuff yet. I'll come get it when I'm ready. Nah, that's all right. You'll still be outside on the side of the road next to the trash can. If you don't come get it, the garbage man will, and whoever the fuck passed by at the time. Also, here's an interesting scenario. Every city and state has a different timeline for this, but it is identified legally as property abandonment. Now, if y'all break up, there is usually a 30 to 90-day window for that person who has effectively moved out of your house, if y'all were living together, to come back and get their stuff. If they do not come back and get their stuff, in that time frame. The stuff is yours. Anything of value that you want. Okay, that's three times. How you doing? A fourth time would be considered spam. Say hi to me now. Calm down. There's a delayed response to when you text versus when I see it versus when you hear it, because this is a 3 to 5 second delay. Now, didn't I tell you that the fourth time would be considered spam? Now, Michael's itchy finger is going to come and get you, wanting to be on the show for your 15 seconds of fame. Is that a Marion photo that you got there? Who you stole that photo from? That is not you. Was that edits 8-bit? Are you? Is that? Oh, that's bait. He's Ryan edits bait. So Ryan, what do you edit? Are you editing lyrics? Do you edit DVDs? Are you one of those Blu-ray players? So is me and Michael. Yeah. Ah, we like boys in the hood. Yeah. is that is that like a genuine? That looks like genuine. Is that a genuine photo? Is that a photo from genuine? That ain't you. That ain't you. Where you coming from? Where you coming from? You gonna come? You gonna come jump into the show real quick, and you gonna. So I want to see what you look like. You gonna come here? You can't tell me that you look like that photo, man. You sitting there smoking a blunt, drinking you some Hennessy, and you gonna come? You gonna jump into the live real quick? Where you at? See, it, when you call them out, they don't jump on a live. That lets you know they trolling. Come on, Ryan. Edits bait. What you baiting? Hopefully it's 18 or over. Let me in alive. You not you here. That's you. That's you. You gotta register yourself so that you don't get yourself in trouble. And then I gotta see you in my green room. And if you look like you over the age of 18, you might get up here. But if you don't look like your damn photo, you ain't getting up here. Because I'm gonna get to see your face before everybody else gets to see your face. hmm This is how we know they're trolling. Because you can copy and paste anybody's photo into your YouTube account. Actually, what you do is you copy and paste it into your Google account, and then when you create a YouTube account, it uses the metadata from your Gmail. You and Ryan the same person? He said Justin Flores free Diddy. First of all, why? Why are you trying to free Diddy? Diddy has not contributed as much as R. Kelly. Why are you not freeing Kelly? Who wants to free Diddy? He's not gonna drop a good album. Kelly dropping tracks in jail. Free Kelly. Which all Kelly did was pee on somebody. I mean, really, Diddy of all people. Like y'all just come up out of nowhere with some ridiculousness. I'm waiting on the next jackass jump in here talking about some release the Epstein files. Like y'all don't have nothing original. Y'all can't if y'all gonna jump in to a live podcast seeking acknowledgement and attention, it is best to do it by sticking to the topic at hand. That's the first thing. But if you're going to utilize negative attention, at least try to be original about it. At least jump in with something different. Like, for example, Did you see how that woman got her ass whooped by the ICE people over in Chicago because they ran into her car? That's the kind of shit that you're supposed to jump into a podcast with. Did you see how they was trying to shoot the witnesses that watched the hit and run from the police, and then the police tried to they dragged the woman to jail because they hit her car? They committed a felony and they arrested her for the felony. That's the kind of stuff y'all supposed to be bombing podcasts with. Did you see the injustice where they arrested that little black boy and held him against his will for a couple days and then released him with no charges because they was allegedly doing a sweep of non-Americans? I can look at that little boy and tell you that he was born and raised in that neighborhood. That boy do not look like no damn uh 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 uh, immigrant of any kind, whether it's Haitian, Mexican, Puerto Rican, Dominican Republic. That little boy looked like a good old fashioned black boy straight out the hood, and they then took that little boy to jail because he was outside while they was acting up. That's the kind of stuff y'all should be bombing podcasts with. But I just be wondering. You saying who? I don't know that lady's name. I don't know that lady's name. But they had her in two ankle locks at the same time. It was like Kurt Angle was just all on the shit, dragging the woman out of her damn car, and then knee on the throat, and she just out there screaming. Look, I would not have survived that scenario because I'm gonna tell you, I would have came out blasting. I would have came out black. It would have been a blinky party when I would have. They would have hit my car. It would have been a blinky party. You know what I mean? I would I would not have survived that. They crashed into my car and they're gonna try to arrest me. Mm-mm, mm-mm. And you had all them cameras out there recording that. Mm-mm. But you gotta understand. You gotta understand. In the 80s and the 90s, we learned that when they own the street, you take your ass home. All of y'all Lil Wayne fans should be following that Carter 3, Carter 4. The block is hot. Cash Money Millionaires. When they pull up, we run. And when they leave, we come back. If y'all maintain that mentality, as long as ICE is out there, it'd be a motherfucking ghost town. As long as they not kicking nobody door in, it would be a motherfucking ghost town. But y'all in the street looking for trouble with folks that got AK-47s, AR-15, Clives, M16s, and they ready to do the deal because they have a license to kill. These are people that do not have the courage to do this without a mask because they know what you will do to them when they clock out. And they are going to do this because not only do they have the privacy of not having to show their face while they are enforcing the law, they do not have to answer for their actions. You cannot identify them. So they have the ability to hurt and kill people with no consequences. Who do you think is going to be doing that? The ones who used to get beat up in high school, the ones who didn't get picked for dodgeball, the ones who got stood up on their first date at prom. That's the ones who's going to be out there acting reckless. You don't never see no Chuck Norris built looking dude out there. You don't never see no, and Hulk Hogan looking dude out there, like just I'm just doing my job, you know, looking for the people who aren't supposed to be here. You know, you see the ones that's overweight and don't look like the man who was sitting over here flashing his piece at folks. He looked like he should have been one of the ones that was shipped off. I was looking at him like, what the hell? Y'all don't come for stuff like that though. Y'all come and talk to me about Diddy. I was trying to figure out like, why Diddy? Because you're young, and that's the only one that you know about. That's the only one that you know about. But if you was really trying to free some folks, you should have been trying to free, you know, some of the American citizens that have been unlawfully detained under the deportation sweep, where they should have legitimate information on the targets that they're supposed to be collecting. There should not be accidental arrest. There should be deliberate apprehension and The other deliberate apprehension would be those that interfered with the deliberate apprehension. So you should only have in detention people who are clearly undocumented and people who stop them from being taken. That's the only two people you should have. Anybody else that you pick up off the road for any other reason, you should be fired for that shit. Court martial, Guantanamo Bay. That's what should be going on. But that's not what's happening right now. Make sure y'all like and subscribe because we got a lot of stuff to talk about here. Now, back to the main topic. We were talking about when they not over it and they're showing these signs that they have unresolved issues and they're using their stuff that they have to come and collect as an excuse to anchor them in your lives. This scenario is a common scenario. A box of an excess things remains in a closet, multiple texts asking when they can retrieve them or meet with an excuse. I'm busy this week. How about next week? But the proposed time never arrives. Conversely, they may hold on to their excess things, refusing to return them. This procrastination is rarely about a busy schedule. It is often a strategic, if subconscious, move to keep a door open for further contact. As long as their belongings are at their ex's residence, there is a built in reason to communicate, not with us, because I already told you. A lot of us pay for a storage unit just for the sake of keeping our own shit. If you already have an active storage unit that has a little extra space in it, you should take everything that belongs to your ex out of the house and put it in storage if you're not going to throw it on the side of the road. Now, what that's going to do is remove any legal requirement they would have to come into the house and come and get anything out of your house. Because you guys, y'all was living together and y'all broke up. They may try to get the sheriff to come and let them break into your house so that they could come and get your stuff. And I can tell you, true to life, past experience, you take everything out of the house they paid for, everything out of the house that you bought for them, and you relocate it off the property. Now, you take pictures of the house after you remove everything out of the house. You do not allow them to come into the house. Then, when the police come with the bullshit, you make sure that the police know there is nothing in the house that belongs to them. You show the police officer pictures. You allow the police officer to show them the pictures so that they can verify in them pictures that there is nothing in the house that belongs to them. They are going to want to know for fact, for proof. At the end of the day, it is not common property. It's not domestic property in any way, shape, or the sense, because if they still have a sock at your address, they still live there. If all of their property was removed, it is not here anymore. When they left, 24 hours after they left, all of their stuff left. They have nothing else here. If they cannot prove that something in the house belongs to them, they do not have a legal right to enter the house, and a police officer cannot allow them to force their way into your house, which means that you can defend your house against that intruder. Now, I don't encourage that part, but the fact is, nothing is in there. Once nothing is in there, there is no reason my belongings, blah, blah, blah. Domestic dispute. Take it up with a judge. They're not gonna. They're not gonna. They're gonna be pissed off. They're gonna talk trash about you with their friends, their social circle. But if y'all don't have an exclusively shared social circle, it doesn't really matter. But they will use their stuff at your place as an excuse to continue to communicate with you because if they communicate with you about their stuff, that communication could lead them to coming back. Y'all could have another affair. Then y'all could end up back dating, have one of those on again, off again relationships. It's not necessary. The items serve as a physical placeholder for the relationship. sending the message that things are not completely over, which also is a red flag for a new woman in your life or a new man. If a new person that you decide to start dating comes to your house and for some reason comes across a bunch of your ex's stuff scattered through the house or stacked up in a certain location, they're going to wonder what the fuck is this, right? Retrieving that final box is a powerful symbol of finality. It's almost like when you get fired off your job. You're typically in an office job because restaurant jobs and all you had was the shit you came in with. But typically in an office job, you might have a couple of photos, a couple of excuse me, um, trinkets that you decorated your desk with, and that's it. That's all you got. The walk of shame is you taking the 8 things or sometimes 10 things off of your desk, putting it in this one regular sized box, and then being escorted off the property with your shit because taking your stuff out of the office is a finality that you are not coming back. When you're suspended, they tell you go home. We'll tell you when to come back to work. You're suspended. Uh, Either with pay or you're suspended without pay. You're having an extended leave, and they're not going to fire you, but they're going to make you take a little bit of time off to think about what the hell just happened, and then they will call you to come back in to reevaluate the situation. If you've moved on from the job, then you've moved on. But if you want that job still, they're going to have terms and conditions for you to come back to work. And if you agree to those terms, you go back to your desk. But if you don't agree to your terms, then that's the day that you go to your desk and get your shit. Or in situations where you've moved on from this job, they had you off for a couple of weeks, you're like, fuck it, found a new job. You go back to the job to get your stuff and then you leave. When you take your stuff, whether it's in a relationship or in a workplace, you are taking your stuff as a final nail in the coffin to whether it's a professional relationship or a personal relationship. The psychology here is rooted in a fear of serving the last tangible tie. So those objects represent a concrete connection to the life that was shared. Letting them go feels like letting go of the last thread of the relationship. Someone who is genuinely done with the relationship typically wants a clean break, getting their things back and returning what they have from the other person is usually a priority because it represents closure. But a lot of the times they could give two shits about what stuff of theirs that you got and what stuff of yours that they got because it's a clean break. If an ex is treating this task with no urgency, it's because they may care more about keeping a reason to stay connected. So, having broken down these signs, it's clear that these actions indicate an ex is likely not over that relationship. Now, you can try to utilize this information to get back with them, get you one more one off. I wouldn't recommend it. The most important question becomes what should an individual do with this information, though? And the first thing that you might think instinctively is a surge of hope. Be cautious, um, is going to be your advice here. An ex's confusion is not a stable foundation for a new relationship where y'all get back together on a positive note after whatever chaos that caused y'all to break up. Because if the two of you have not devolved or debriefed what caused the breakup in the first place, you will be ignoring the problem, getting back together where the problem has every opportunity to resurface again, or at least the feelings about that problem have every opportunity to resurface again, which will lead to a second breakup, probably more devastating than the first. The hot cold behavior jealousy tactics, and other games reflect their internal chaos, not a healthy invitation to reconcile. Because both of y'all did something wrong. Both of y'all need to recognize what that was. And both of y'all need to figure out a way to improve that. Re engaging at this stage means stepping directly into their emotional storm. And the most powerful response is to stop participating in their games. The focus must shift from decoding their behavior to prioritizing one's own peace. And this is how power is regained. First, experts recommend setting firm non negotiable expectations for behavior. Mixed signals thrive in ambiguity, so removing it is key. This often means implementing a period of no contact. No contact should be just that, no contact. It should be viewed not as a tactic to make an ex miss someone, but as an act of self preservation alone. It is a declaration that one will no longer participate in the emotional roller coaster. And this means no texting, no calling, or engaging with social media performances, creating a space of silence where an individual can finally reconnect with their own needs. Second, during this period, the emotional energy should be turned inward. Reconnect with friends that you distance yourself from while you were in this relationship. Reconnect with some of the hobbies that you used to perform, the positive ones that you used to perform before you got into this relationship, the ones that you put on hold for this relationship. Set new goals, something related to fitness or a career or a creative project, not to replace your relationship with overwhelming effort into something new, because that's unhealthy as well. You still need a level of balance. But doing this is going to help you improve. It's not about showing the X that you're doing great or that um, you're better off without them. You're strategically trying to find a way to enjoy yourself. This is for your own sake. As self worth is rebuilt, because a lot of the times in a breakup, your self worth is diminished, male or female, your self worth is diminished. Your validation will become less important as you rebuild your self worth. And your self worth is how much you value yourself. When you do not have high value for yourself, you seek validation from others, be it friends, family members, social media, or your ex. So the more you could give two shits what other people think about you, the more you know that you are the best thing since sliced bread and you value yourself. Finally, if and when the ex reaches out with more consistent and direct effort, the individual will be in a position of power to decide what they actually want. Having had space to heal, they can assess the situation logically, not from a place of desperation, because a lot of times we will respond or react to the desperation of the breakup. And they can ask a critical question like, has anything actually changed? What have you improved from the last time we've engaged each other? Is the X offering a stable future or just more confusion? The decision of whether the offer is good enough for a new, stronger version of themselves to reset in the relationship in a second go around, or some situations, a third go around in a relationship, is dependent upon exclusively, did both of you improve after the breakup? Because if one or neither of you have improved after the breakup, dating your ex is like cheating on the exam a second time. You are only going to fail. An ex's pretense is about their inability to handle their emotions. The healing journey belongs to the individual. Analysts of their chaos should be replaced with the creation of one's own peace. And that is the path to truly moving forward. So whether the path eventually leads back to the X on healthier terms or to someone new entirely certainly depends on how you guys have grown from the previous relationship. Well, it's good that you showed up. It's good that you showed up. I appreciate you showing your due diligence, my guy. We are apparently doing a good job with the dual. I'm noticing a lot more in the 9 by 16, but I do see a lot in the 16 by 9. So this is actually pretty interesting scenario. But we're getting more comments from the 9 by 16 side. So it's good that you were able to pop back in, Dylan. Today we were talking about the observations of knowing that your ex is not really over you, or in some situations, knowing that you're not really over your ex, and what we could do about it. And we kind of ran through an hour and a half because we started with because we are supposed to start at the top of the hour at about 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 10 o'clock Central Standard Time, and we've been on for about an hour and 35 minutes. So we did almost a 2 hour show. Is that, oh Lordy, it's so true, but what can you do? Well, as we were talking about, you recognize just got out the taxi cab for work. Hey, I understand. I completely understand. I'm not hurting you for it. Typically, we do try to run it 2 to 3 hours. It has been kind of short over the past couple because I'm still trying to navigate the extra. Because when I'm looking at it, I see myself. I see my green room. I see myself on a 16 by 9. Then I see myself over on a 9 by 16, and I have two audios inbound, one from the 9 by 16 and one by the 16 by 9. So I'm hearing stereo when people talk on the channel. So I'm still navigating the new features on the show. So I start a little bit late, but after daylight savings time, we're trying to start the show closer to 11 o'clock Eastern time, 10 o'clock Central time, instead of it being closer to 11 o'clock Central time, which is midnight Eastern time. So we're technically starting about 30 minutes earlier than what we usually do. Which means our hour to an hour and a half show, instead of it wrapping up at like 1 a.m., it's wrapping up at between um, 12 and uh, 1, something like that. So, I'm always glad that you're here. But yeah, when you say, yeah, it's true, what can we do? What you can do is you have to first recognize when your ex partner is doing a push pull method where they're being too nice to you in some situations and then extremely cold thereafter. Um, the terms of how y'all broke up, if they broke up with you, like for guys, we experience it where the girl broke up with us. It was a series of nothing's wrong, nothing's wrong, nothing's wrong. We're breaking up. It's not you, it's me. Don't worry about it. Good luck with the next person. And you're left lost, not knowing what's going on, begging the person to come back, give you a second chance. You didn't do anything wrong. But because you don't have closure and you had this sudden halt in your relationship, you might still cling to your ex. How do you get over that? Is you have to fix yourself. You can only analyze the information that you have from your last relationship and then make changes to improve yourself so that in your next relationship that you're not making the same mistakes. Now keep in mind, no two women are the same way no two men are the same. And the desires of women that are unrealistic are definitely not the same. The normal desires of men are typically the same. Food, sex. Don't mess with me when I'm playing my video games. So there's some commonalities amongst men, but amongst women, there isn't as many commonalities, except when they get pissed off, you don't know what triggered that, and they won't tell you. They want you to figure it out. And if you don't figure it out, you don't care. And that's not the truth. That lack of communication causes more problems than it helps. And if the relationship ended, where there is no clue as to why it ended, it's probably because there wasn't an issue. If there was an issue, you guys should have talked about it. If it was something that you failed to do and you're capable of doing it now, then you need to start doing that. If it's something that you did do that you should not have done, you need to stop doing that. That's it. That's it. And truth be told, outside of abuse and loyalty issues, there shouldn't be a reason for y'all to break up, you know? But he didn't respond to my text message when I text him. That's the kind of stuff that y'all breaking up for these days. And in that situation, it doesn't mean that you need to start responding quickly to text messages when your ass is at work. You need to keep your job. So in these situations, there is a pattern of behavior where you have to recognize what caused the breakup. And once you realize what caused the breakup, regardless of whether or not they broke up with you or you broke up with them, you need to stick to the fact that y'all are over. Now, if y'all had a fight over something serious, y'all both know what went wrong. You did not treat them the way they were supposed to be treated. You forgot about their birthday. You prioritized somebody else over your partner, whatever the case may be. Y'all took some time apart. Y'all realized that there's more to this relationship than that one mistake. You're gonna prioritize them better. They're gonna give you the opportunity to do better, and y'all work it out. Then y'all can try it again. But only if y'all improve. So if your ex is lurking around you and they're popping up out of nowhere, I said before, go somewhere new. Don't go to the same spots that you used to go to when you were in a relationship. Typically, if you can afford it, if you and your girlfriend or you and your boyfriend was in a specific city when y'all was dating, you want to go date in a different city. You just literally want to go to a different city. And I know some people can't afford that. They don't have cars. They don't have gas money. Stay at home and save your money until you can afford to go to a different city because your ex partner popping up on you is a guarantee if they're not done with you. And if you feel the need to go to some of the local hangout spots that you and your partner used to go to reminisce, just so that you can stumble across your partner, you know that you're not over. It's good for you to just stop doing stuff. He said, yeah, spending time on the partner is a good key to make it work. Oh, a good idea to move on. It's a fantastic idea to move on. Um, if you want to reconcile, you still have to improve yourself. If y'all had an appropriate discussion before the breakup as to why the breakup was occurring, the same way you talk to your boss about why they're firing you, and you're able to change the patterns of behavior that caused you to get fired, then if you want your job back and they have a job opening, they can hire you back. But if they fired you because you don't show up for work on time and you leave early and they hire you back and you're no call, no show, you're showing up late, you're leaving early, you always got an your behavior hasn't changed and it's gonna lead you to getting fired again. That ship shell for me, I've been single 3 years. Congratulations. You got to understand that the longer that you're single, the less likely that you're going to have the era of desperation to get back into the next relationship. I have had friends that are so desperate to get into a relationship that they really, really want that relationship to fill a void in their life. And I'm going to tell you that when you're interacting as men, when you interact with a woman, your emotions are like on your sleeve. So the problem is that if you internalize the the deep-seated desperation to attach to someone else, that person will catch that. And then some can manipulate you and use you for it, but others will be turned off by it and they will not give you the time of day because they can tell the desperation in your decision making, in your behavior patterns, in your mannerisms. The longer that you're single, the longer that you get used to being by yourself, the more confidence that you have with yourself, the more value that you have in yourself, that will attract other people to come talk to you, which would put you in a position to then, using emotional intelligence, pick the one that best fits your current objectives. If you have a high level of self-esteem, a high level of self-respect, a high level of non-negotiable expectations for behavior, it is going to be harder for you to get into a newer relationship by their choice because they have to meet your expectations before you even make the offer. So if you're looking at red flags like, nope, this reminds me of an ex, or while she might be attractive, I'm trying to do X, Y, and Z with my life, and it does not appear to me that she is trying to head in that direction with me, which also means this isn't going to last. I'm not going to make this work. We are going to work on this together, or it ain't happening. So if my job description for a girlfriend leading to a wife is being presented to a woman that's not interested in a long-term commitment, we ain't got nothing to talk about. If I'm looking for a rest of my life kind of relationship and she's looking for just fun, we're not compatible. Yeah, you can get laid, but guys getting laid while desperately looking for that emotional connection can find themselves emotionally attached to the woman that they just slept with. And now, especially if you're having frequent hookups, her just having fun, no emotions attached, will have you emotionally attached to her and unable to, even as friends with benefits, to find a legitimate emotional relationship that you can get into because you're already emotionally attached to somebody else. And women can tell that a man is already emotionally attached to somebody. Michael says, you know that rule that says you have to declare cash, but what about gold or a Bitcoin wallet? The rule about declaring cash, from what I understand, because me and Michael covered this before, is I believe similar to declaring gold. The physical manifestation of monetary value should be declared. And I have to do some research to see if they reduce the levels because I've heard that there's a possibility that it might have gone down to $5,000. But I do know that it has been for a long period of time $10,000. If you, for some reason, have $10,000 worth of gold in a briefcase, you better declare that, not for the sake of being knocked off by the feds, because yes, you will be robbed by the police. They're people too, and they steal. The United States government steals on a regular basis, taxes, but they also steal your inheritance. They steal a lot of things. But if you've got $10,000 of gold in a briefcase, anybody can take that briefcase if it's not declared, and it's not yours anymore because possession is 9/10 of the law. Likewise, as far as feds and drug trafficking laws are go, if you are carrying $10,000 worth of physical capital that can be utilized in an exchange, as you do not have a paper trail of where that came from, they will steal it from you under the falsehood of drug trafficking. Now, digital currency does not apply to this. So, with digital currency, uh, you can have $1 million on your Bitcoin wallet because it is ideally on your cell phone. And you can travel with $1 million in the bank. You can wire transfer $1 million to another bank. You can, I wouldn't do it. There's some countries I do believe, like in Asia, they have like a $50,000 a year wire transfer cap, which if you're wire transferring 49,000 a year to Japan and you're living off of 8,500 of that a year, you're wiring over 5 years worth of standard of living and not needing that much money. If they got a $50,000 a year cap and you can send yourself $25,000 at a time, where you're doing like $2,000 a month or $2,500 a month, you can do it in like increments. where you're sending yourself $1,500 a week every week to Japan, where it doesn't trigger the um, fraud declaration laws in the United States, and you're not triggering any red flags in Asia, you could end up sending yourself like 25 or $30,000 a year, and then you can live that $20,000 a year lifestyle over there and invest the other 10 to $15,000 where you can live the life of Riley, and nobody knows where your money is going because they're not declaring certain capital in digital currency. But when you are um, traveling with the physical money, yeah, somebody will rob you. But you say you're going to swallow the gold bars. A gold bar is going to be like, first of all, it's solid, so you're not swallowing that, and it's going to be big and it's going to be heavy. A bar is typically the size of a brick. So if you've never seen a gold bar in real life, the closest thing to a gold bar that you will see in real life, walk up to a red brick wall. The size of that red brick is about the size, maybe smaller. It'll be about the size of a gold bar. And I'm telling you this because you're not going to be able to fit that into your mouth. It's not going to happen. It just doesn't work that way. You would not be able to swallow. Now, if you had the billiards, the coins, that might work. Ah, special shout out to what's that? Sazari. She said bullshit. What's bullshit? Explain it to me. Explain to me what you disagree with. Are you coming in disagreeing on the relationship side of things? We're talking about how people. Yeah, I mean, I've seen people get blown up in cartoons too, and they have their hair like straight out and smoked out, and they just cough and they're still alive. But if they get blown up in real life, it doesn't work. They're like their head is detached from their body, their organs are missing, and stuff like that. So just because you've seen a cartoon do it doesn't mean that you can do it in real life. I've seen things happen in GTA that I strongly recommend that you not act out in real life. Matter of fact, the action of capturing a Pokemon in the video game is equivalent to unlawful trapping of an animal in reality. So, by definition, what you see in cartoons and video games should never be reenacted in reality. Just want to throw that out there. So, Sazari, she just said bullshit for the sake of bullshit, or she just popped in just to be bullshit. Maybe one of those that are lingering because they have not resolved their unresolved issues. Who knows? Well, jump out of a helicopter in flight and parachute into a pool to a pool roof. Yeah, that's never happening in real life. That's never happening in real life. That has to be planned and orchestrated by a stunt team, to be fair. Just for you to like 007, Mission Impossible, Jason Bourne, that kind of stuff. No, that's not for the average person. Maybe a Marine, maybe like some KGB agents or something like that. Maybe some Interpol guys, maybe some like super secret private eye kind of person, like secret agent kind of thing. But the average Joe Smo that's afraid of what happens when they run that traffic cam, nah, not parachuting off of nothing. Cause what if the helicopter blade sucks you into the blades? Yeah, that's a final destination moment. So, off that main topic, the confusing signals of over the top social media posts, undercover surveillance, attempts to manufacture jealousy. Ladies do this a lot. Lingering emotional investments and refusal to finalize a separation are the strong indicators that an ex partner is struggling to let go. He said, not the legs on the truck. Yeah. Oh, not the logs on the truck. Yes, yes, the logs on the truck. And it's always when we talk about Final Destination, it is always that explicit scene. The logs on a truck. You know how many people don't ride behind them log trucks no more on the interstate because of that movie? You know they just came out with another one this year. They came out with another one this year. They're doing a legacy. They're doing a Final Destination legacy where this chick is trying to cheat death from her ancestors. That's some boss stuff. I seen it on a plane. I'm watching Final Destination on American Airlines. When they said we were landing, I was like, oh shit. I made sure I didn't get on flight 180. And that was the day when they come talking about some the one side of the plane was over fueled and off balance. I was like, oh shit, this is the day we're gonna crash. This is the day. Ah. So back to the main topic. Uh, when your ex isn't over you, their words may calm uh many of the moods, and it could be providing a false claim that they've moved on if you listen to what they're saying, but their behavior often reflects their unresolved feelings, which is why a lot of the times you're not supposed to just believe what people say. You're supposed to, for the most part, believe what they do. The truth is not about what comes out of somebody's mouth, it's about the actions that somebody performs. And if they don't perform to the magnitude of their declarations, then you can't trust what they will do, but you should have never trusted what they said in the first place. Now, in these long term relationships with blind trust, blind faith, uh, brutal transparency, and other such things, you typically have full disclosure where your partner can, your partner can know what's going on because you've debriefed them enough. They know your patterns of behavior. They can estimate your reactions and your responses. And if you act outside of the normal areas of characteristics, they could evaluate that and then over time predict your overreactions or your underreactions so that you become ideally predictable and they can navigate your next move. But when they break up with you, they can navigate your next move. The three body problem is a Crow Best TV series slash book I have read in recent history. Yeah, it's good to see. I've seen the three body problem on Netflix. We can trust you to be here every night. Exactly. I have been here every night for almost 3 years, and you guys will see me every night. Very little can stop me from being here. While I don't show up on time on a regular basis, I'm always here. So if you came to the show 20 minutes after the show was supposed to start, I either just started or I've been here for 20 minutes. If you come to the show 45 minutes after the show's supposed to start, I've been here. You know what I'm saying? There's rarely a situation where you will see that I did not air at all ever. I am always here. You see me every single night, 7 nights a week, talking about a different topic. That's another thing that you don't know outside of reading the description of the show before the show goes live. You don't even know what the show's going to be about because we don't talk about the same thing every day. The only time we have ever had a repetitive um, debriefing was when we were giving you updates about the shutdown, but we covered the shutdown from different angles. How it affects the government agents, how it affects the people who benefited from the government agents as customers, how it affected the employees, how it affected your food stamps, how it affects your government benefits, what changes are happening in the government while the government is shut down. And next Monday, we're going to be talking about now that the government is not shut down, what did they agree on and how it's going to change our money, our ability to make, save, and invest money going forward. But for the rest of the time, we're always talking about something new: which stocks to invest in, which ones to buy, which ones to sell, which precious metals to invest in. Mike gives us an update every so often about the values of gold and silver. We talk about a lot of different things on a regular basis so that you have so much more knowledge because a lot of the time you don't have enough knowledge to ask a question. You only ask questions when you are curious about information you just received. So, in order for you to change the questions, I have to bring you new knowledge. And that's what I do 7 nights a week. I bring you guys new knowledge. And that gives you something to go and research. Because a lot of stuff that we're talking about today, you might have not even thought about, but then you're going to go back and look. And you might look for one of two reasons. You might look for Jesus loves you too. Uh, so does Jesus. So does Buddha. So does Yaman. Uh, yes. Uh, and I think Lucifer and Satan also loves you as well. Just wanted to cover the bases because I mean they're brothers, right? Everybody's in it together. Uh, well, where was I? I was talking about how providing you with the information for you to do the research. You'll do the research for one or two reasons. One, because you value the information and you want to know more, or two, because you would want to refute what I provided you because I only bring facts to the table and you would want to prove me wrong. So you'll do the research and then you verify what I said, and you're like, oh shit, this dude never tells a bad story. He's never getting it wrong. He's not telling us a lie. Again, with this, he's gonna say no, and I'm gonna prove you wrong right here. You're gonna tell me that he doesn't. And how is that even factual? Because the look, he's going to say read John 14, 8, 14. One of the things I love about diehard Christians is that they battle an argument with what is identified as scripture from the book, where the book was written by man. Okay, and one of the things that I love this about this is specifically, um, while some memorize the entire book, some only remember specific scriptures. And they typically use this to defend the entire argument. Where the one scripture in the book does not define the way of life, and another scripture in that exact same book can contradict the first scripture. Specifically, the entire chapter of Corinthians can tell you exactly how to treat one another. And ironically, while some people are Catholic and some people are Christian and some people don't like Jews, and the Quran does the exact same thing. It's a book about how to treat people. Corinthians 1 through 31 and the entire Quran. Yet, at least here in America, we have a society of people that disrespect each other, that devalue each other, that mistreat each other. Christians, he who has not committed sin shall cast the first stone. So, since we are all in some way, shape, or form sinners, whether intentional or accidental, we should never judge one another, but we still judge. We judge by the way each other look. We judge by the way each other behaves. We judge by what each other knows. We actually have built a society based off of credentials. So if you don't have enough credentials, you can't speak in this conversation. Even if you know what you're talking about, instead of them devaluing the facts that you put on the table, they devalue you as a person because you don't have the credentials for them to respect the facts that you gave them. Again, judging. Now, when I just told you that um, Lucifer and Satan shall love you as well. And you're going to say that he doesn't. You're going to tell me about the scripture from John 14, 8, 14, and imply that Lucifer and Satan doesn't love you. But the fact is that they who tempt you to commit sin love you for sinning, right? Ironically, your blind faith towards the Lord and Jesus Christ that is supposed to motivate you towards the promised lands of heaven tests your loyalty and tests your faith and loves the fact that you suffer through trials and tribulations to prove your loyalty instead of rewarding you in your life for successfully living life. Now you're going to say that that's the tough love of God, but at the same time, it sounds to me like dating a woman. Like you're going to be treated like shit to prove that you're loyal. But with Satan, on the other hand, he'll give you everything you want. All you got to do is fuck up. Make it make sense to me. Now we're going to recite Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John were eyewitness testimonies of Jesus Christ. And that has nothing to do with the fact that, the people that we pray to, whether we're Christians or Catholic and sadists, that, that really putting our own self power into the hands of an entity that we cannot see is the lack of personal accountability. While I am not dismissing a higher power, I am also acknowledging the fact that if the higher power gave you free will and that higher power gave you the skill set to conquer the world, and you are displacing your free will and your accountability and your responsibility to back to the source, you are abandoning what they gave you. You are dismantling their gift. You are devaluing their efforts. And I don't understand why they preach about this in the church. Put it all on the Lord's shoulders. Put it all on the. No, shit's supposed to be on your shoulders. From the day you had the capabilities to do it your damn self, shit should have been on your shoulders. You should not have to ask for the strength to get out of your car and change your damn tire. He gave you the strength to get out of your car and change your damn tire. You should not be asking for the strength to walk down the road because you did not see the fuel light on and stop at that gas station. You should have the strength to walk down the road because your ass didn't see the damn gas station and stop at the damn gas station. You need to take responsibility for yourself, but this is different. He says, I'm not seeing the chart. Are you live on other platforms other than YouTube? Yeah, I'm live on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. And we got to see what's happening with TikTok after the sale for TikTok, and we might actually be live on TikTok as well. And you saying that you're not seeing the chats. Well, I don't know. I can't tell what's going on with the 16 by with the 9 by 16, but the 16 by 9 has got the chats going on. So when they comment in the comment section, sometimes it pops up over here. When it pops up over here, then I can show you guys what they're talking about on the screen because it's going to show up to me three different chats, and then I post up the different chats because Twitter and Twitch does not pop up on YouTube. But if it pops up on my thing, then I will post it up. So you'll see it over here. You'll see it right here if you're on a 9 by 16, but you'll see it over here if you're on the 16 by 9, and you'll see it right here when I prioritize a specific comment. He says 25,000 Greek documents. 25,000 Greek documents does not disprove what I just said. What happened to God when he walked the earth? So is this like live trivia now? Is this live trivia now? You're going to ask me what happened to God. So here's the funny part about that question. There isn't even a reason for me to answer that question because you jumped in with Jesus loves you. And then I just identified a bunch of different ways where all of the people you pray to love you and all the people you don't pray to love you equally as much for different reasons. And you said I was wrong. You did not prove why I was wrong. And then you changed the subject. And now you're asking me a straw man arbitrary question that has nothing to do with the original statement that you made, that has nothing to do with the original statement that I made, that has nothing to do with your original objection. For what purpose? To, I guess, hopefully prove that I don't know what God did when he walked the earth. Now, that's a trick question because, first and foremost, you have to recognize that Jesus was the one that walked the earth and he's not God. He's supposed to allegedly be the son of God. But in the Christian book, he's also supposed to be the Father as well as the Son at the exact same time and the Holy Spirit. So he is his own Father and he is also his own Son. And when he dies, he is still the Holy Spirit, which is a contradiction in and of itself. Okay. The Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit are supposed to be three people because when Mary gave birth to Jesus, it was supposed to be because his father, who would have to be separated as Zeus, would be the one that uh, miraculously impregnated Mary to have Jesus, which would identify in our modern times as an affair on Joseph outside of their marriage because she was supposed to be a virgin. Now you're going to tell me again to read 14:8:14. There's no reason to read 14:8:14 because the statement was that I do believe that Satan and Lucifer love you equally as much for different reasons. So you said that's wrong. How is it wrong? You would have to show me that Satan and Lucifer have explicit hatred towards mankind. As we are identified in the Bible, we are pawns in a bigger game. So there's no reason for me to read that. They're tempting us to corrupt our souls is their ability, and this is based on the ideologies of the Bible. They're tempting us to corrupt our souls is the ideology to uh win souls on that half of the field. The tempting of fate is for the supposed good guys to put you through hard times to prove that you won't betray. Now, the people you're supposed to stay loyal to is treating you like shit to prove that you're not going to turncoat. And the people who are supposed to be the bad guys are promising you all types of good life in order to sell your soul to supposedly the bad guy. It, history is told by the people who wrote the story. A lot like science, we don't know the truth about the matter because we are not testing that in modern times. We weren't there over 2,000 years ago, 2,025 years ago, because 2025 AD is 2,025 years after Jesus' death. But there was an existence long before his life that, what, 2,000 to 5,000 years BC before he was found, that society existed. Y'all don't talk about that neither. Okay, and now you're saying, would they die for your sins? That's a ridiculous question to ask. Who's dying for sins? Who? That makes no sense. That makes absolutely no sense. Being genuine is the best character trait any of us can do to treat ourselves and others right. And I explicitly agree with that. Special shout out to Dylan. Fantastic work. Because that's truthfully where we're getting at with today's show is that your genuine characteristics, who you really are, how you really behave, should always be expressed during the good times and during the bad, even during a breakup. The best you that you can possibly be, even when you've made a mistake, is supposed to be thoroughly expressed to the best of your ability. Some people are going to like it and some people are not. In some situations, you're going to have asshole situations that you just have to navigate around. There are going to be some situations where you're going to be overly aggressive, and some situations where you're going to be passive and say, "Fuck it, it's not worth it." You have to recognize when you need to improve yourself, not for the sake of somebody else, but for the sake of yourself. Your ability to have road rage comes from your inability to accept that you can't control the traffic. Your ability to express jealousy is because you lack the ability to control a relationship. Your ability to control your shift leads to your lack of ability to control what's happening on your job when you're not the manager that's supposed to be controlling the shift. You do what you are supposed to do to the best of your ability and let everybody else figure their shit out. You can help them if they need it as long as you're not grossly sacrificing yourself, but you're not supposed to let yourself go undone so that you can prioritize aiding somebody else. Even when you're taking care of your children, you are supposed to prioritize yourself to some degree, and some people are not going to agree with that, but you are supposed to prioritize yourself to some degree because if you don't survive because of self-sacrifice, who the fuck's taking care of your kids? You have to be the one to prioritize yourself. And that's going to be one of the issues that you have um, with a lot of people being self-sacrificing. Oh, I'll die for this. I'll die for this. When he asked, would someone die for your sins? Bro, I don't know about a lot of people, but I am not willing to die for my girlfriend or wife's mistakes. I'm not willing to die for my kids' mistakes. And one of the reasons is that dying for a cause is an end all be all. You have to live for a cause because you can continue to do things towards that cause. When you die for a cause, that's it. You're done. You're a statistic. But when you're living for a cause, every new breath that you have can benefit that cause. See what I'm saying? So it's a left field question when you ask me, would they die for your sins? And again, this is one of those things. But I tell you that some of these people that come through with these religious, oh, read John 14:8-14. No, no. Why? Why? What is the point? What would I learn from John that you didn't learn from Corinthians? And then remember, those chapters in the book are supposed to be stories from the guys that traveled with the man, which those stories are either told by the person who experienced it or written by the person who watched it, which is depicted from the perspective of the person who's writing it, not necessarily based on fact, based on observation, based on personal opinion. And then you got to remember that the whole book that you're reading in English is translated from a different language, which by default indicates the capabilities of errored translation, misrepresentation of facts, deliberate uh, failure to provide facts, leaving out whole sections where you don't have the complete picture. But the complete book that you have can be utilized as a moral guideline, a moral compass, which aids you in your ability to behave better. But I mean, fuck, if you're going to try to behave better, why carry the whole book with you? If you really wanted to behave better, when you think about the Ten Commandments dictates all the laws in the United States, because if you look at every law in the United States, you could coin it back to a commandment. And then if you look at Corinthians, Corinthians supports the Ten Commandments. So you don't need the rest of the book. You can use the rest of the book because there are certain sections of the book that indicate that the act of giving is supposed to be done because you can, not because you have to, with no strings attached. And you already had blessings because in order for you to give to someone else, you had to have extra. And in order for you to have extra, you had to be blessed. So the backwards teaching from certain religions where if you give, you'll get in return, the fact that you got too much from your society is the reason why you have enough to give to somebody else. So if you are giving because you believe that you will get in return, then you are not giving selflessly. You're giving selfishly. If you are giving because they are doing without and you just don't want them to do without, that could still be a selfish give, but that has less strings attached because you're not intending on getting anything other than potentially a thank you. If you are an anonymous giver where they don't even know who gave to them, and then you do not project the fact that you give, then you're actually a little bit more giving in a selfless fashion because you're not doing it for praise and you're not doing it for reparations. It's the fact that you know that they don't have. But again, that still could be selfish because you're doing it to soothe your own ego. Probably because you bounced back off of a situation where you didn't have enough. And because you didn't have enough, you want to be the kind of person that you wish you had in your life to provide to you the things that you didn't get when you were struggling. You're going to be that person for somebody else. The same way kids in the 80s who grew up without their dads strive to be great dads now. because they are emulating what they wish they had in their childhood. But that doesn't change the fact that that still could be perceived as a selfish action. There are ways to describe things in Chinese, Mandarin, that are unexplainable in English. And I think it would be good to have an original book in Aramaic or Greek, is the closest you can get today. Yeah, you're right about that. Here we go. Here we go. They start flocking in towards the end. We got a little bit of time. He said, "Do T trust South Carolina? These guys are working with the feds, and everyone is under indictment." Yeah, they was out there. It was out there in Chicago running through folks to be able to have the purest form of the Bible. It's hard, yeah, to have the purest form of the Bible, yeah, to get the closest thing to it. If you had, and well, first we would have to learn how to read Aramaic and Greek, but yeah, to get the closest form of it, to get the original copy, and you know that the Vatican is holding on to certain scriptures that wasn't released to the rest of us. So I mean, it's not really a scandal, but it's stuff that has happened that it lets me know, it lets you know, let everybody know if you do your research that that book doesn't tell you everything, but it can be used as a moral and ethical compass. But if you're really wanting to use that book to improve yourself, because that's really what the book is supposed to be preaching, is self-improvement. People in that book who did things they weren't supposed to do had the opportunity to fix their life. Some did and some didn't. But the fact is that self-improvement is supposed to be the outcome of that book. The man who died on the cross for the sins of others did so because they did not know, they lack of knowledge, that they were doing something they weren't supposed to do. They sent angels into Sodom and Gomorrah to go and get out the innocent, to save those that were lost in the den of sin, so that they could learn that what they were doing was wrong and change what they were doing. The um the fact that he told his disciples who had knowledge to go out and teach those who wanted to learn, so that those people could perform better, was again saying to go learn the right way to perform so that you can be a better you. So the whole book is about changing from the unknowledge mistakes that you were to the knowledgeable success that you should become. And even in that scenario, you're still looking at self improvement. So if you really wanted to start, instead of looking at John, go look at Corinthians and then go read the Quran. One of the things that you can find, and this is a scientific fact, is that if more than one source provides you with the same information, that is likely the closest thing to the truth. So instead of just reading one book and believing that one book, go read 30 different religious books, and all of the things that are in common in all 30 of those books, that's the closest thing to the truth. Because while religion has divided itself over the millennia, the fact is that there are some core context, some core facts that are in every religious book from every different type of religion. That is exactly the same. And that is what you should be following to be your best self. And he said, "Oh, yeah, the Vatican is a whole nother level." Yep. Only God can you save and fix your life. God is not going to fix your life. And you forgot prayer with God as well. No, sir, because when two or more people are talking about the Lord, and He's with you. So because the kingdom of God is in your heart, not within any walls, church, or people. So for the fact that the three of us are up here talking about it, and there's a few hundred people here watching it, he's here able to perform based on the scripture that you're trying to quote. Then at the same time, he is not the one that's going to save or fix you. You are going to fix your life by making change. He gave you the capability to make that change. He gave you the free will to make that change, and he gave you the willpower to make that change. You have to motivate yourself to make that change. He can't do shit for you, because when you pray God for salvation, he can send you salvation. You seen that story about the boy on the raft who was waiting for help? They sent the dinghy, he didn't get on. They sent the ship, he didn't get on. They sent the yacht, he didn't get on. Eventually, he drowned. He got to heaven and said, "God, why didn't you save me?" And God said, "What? I sent you three boats. You didn't get on." He can't save you. You got to save yourself. This is again, that is a lack of accountability, a lack of self responsibility when you believe that the shit that happens in your life is not your fault. That's the devil's fault. And then the good things that happen in your life, that's not your fault. That's God's fault. That's God's blessings upon you. Then when you go through hard times, then you're going to say, oh, I'm gonna get saved by God. All I have to do is just sit here and wait. No, the fuck, you're not gonna sit here and wait and then think that shit's gonna go right for you. If you don't put your left foot in front of your right like footprints in the sand and start making change in your own life, you're not going to have a better life. Your life is going to forever suck. And you're going to continue telling yourself it's not always going to be like this. God's going to save me. He's always going to send you an opportunity. You're always going to ignore it because you're waiting on him to send you an opportunity. If you don't take advantage of the opportunity, how the fuck are you going to get better? It ain't about you sitting there praying for a benefit because faith without work is dead. If you pray all the time, but you don't put effort into change, you're never going to change. You keep blaming your ex for the reason why your relationship sucks, but you don't change, and all of your relationships sucks. But the common denominator in each one of your failed relationships is you. If you had 10 different exes in your life, you're the only common factor in all 10 of your failed relationships. So, how are you going to put that on God? How are you going to put that on the devil? You can't. You have to take responsibility for yourself. It's funny, so many religions, and people wonder why we are so divided. Religion is used to control the ignorant. Outside of politics, religion is used to control the ignorant. Those who do not know. So if you go find out, then you have the capability to change based on what you've learned. If you change for the better, that's good. If you change for the worse, well, that was your choice. What happens to you after you die? Not nearly as important as to what happens to you while you live. Your goal in life is to live the best life that you can possibly live. And for some of us, it requires us to pull ourselves out of society, stay to ourselves a little bit, fix ourselves, fix the chaos in our lives, and then get back out there and live a better life. Sometimes, just like in the movies where the main character goes off into the woods somewhere, trains for 10 years, and then comes back as a better fighter, or the person who lived underground after escaping captivity and built a life for himself, and now he's going to defend it. You, in order for you to be a better you, sometimes you have to retreat from the temptations of life in order for you to build yourself up to be a better person. And then when you get your ass back out there into life, you are able to be a better you than what you was when you was failing in life, doing it day by day, just winging it, hoping that something would change. A lot of times you just got to stop. You just got to stop. Michael says, yeah, I agree with Corinthians mention of putting it on yourself to give up the behavior you are struggling with. Yeah, imagine 10 years, I would come back with a head of gray hair. In 10 years, I'm going to have a shade of gray, but not a lot of gray. And in 10 years, I'm still going to be here preaching this podcast, God willing. Right? We're going to put it on the Lord. As long as I don't do nothing wrong to screw up my ability to be available for this podcast, and as long as I pay my bill to make sure that I got internet service and power, and as long as I show up every day, y'all gonna see me for another 10 years. Responsibility. Here we go. Proverbs 3, 5, 6. Uh New International Version 5. Look now. Look now, he quoted the scripture from the specific version of the book, and you got to understand that a version is an alteration of the original. It's not the original. It's not the source. It is a how do you put this? A subscript of or a summary of what somebody else told somebody else what told somebody else kind of situation. Version 5. This is the fifth version, which means that the original version is 4 versions removed, which means it could be completely different from what I'm about to read. But this is what he put up there. Is that trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, submit to him, and he will make your path straight. Now, that will contradict other areas of the Bible, especially when you start quoting that scripture about footprints in the sand, where he carried you until you could walk on your own. And when he stopped carrying you, you was doing it by yourself. And when you look back, you only see one set of footprints, because that story is a metaphor that you always had the motivation and the willpower and the capability to do it. But until you believed in yourself, you were subconsciously able to keep walking until you got to where you were supposed to go because you continued to try. Take the other scripture about Jonah in the belly of the whale. That is a metaphor of a person being self imprisoned because they refuse to change. They refuse to improve. So the lifestyle that they had, even though they know that they didn't like it, that they wanted to change it, they just did not want to put in the effort to change it. They stayed in that lifestyle until such time as they grew the motivation and the willpower, not just the courage, the motivation and the willpower to make that change in their life. Even when that change in their life would end up helping the lives of others, until he was willing to get up off his ass and be productive, he was not going to change, metaphorically, in the belly of the whale. So, if you believe with all your heart, you can believe. I'm not saying don't believe. I'm also saying be responsible for yourself. You cannot be irresponsible for yourself. Call yourself a responsible adult and then put all of your responsibility on a power that gave you the willpower and responsibility to carry yourself. Why did the Lord give you the ability to be accountable for yourself and the free will to do your own thing? And then you're going to give away your freedom to ideally be imprisoned by the very entity that you worship. Because it's no longer, if it's not your responsibility, it's not your choice. If it is not your choice, it is what they call that destiny, fate, meaning you have no control over your life. If you have no control over your life, you're just waiting for death. Everything that is going to happen was meant to happen. So why are you mad about the things you don't like? Because that was destined to happen. You don't like it because it didn't go the way you wanted it to go. You don't like it because it did not impact your life the way you wanted it to impact your life. And in each one of those situations, there is something you can do to make change. Change is not going to be immediate, because if this is the consequences of past actions, the consequences of past actions might outlive your personal preference. However, the fact is that eventually the light at the other end of the tunnel, passing the trials and tribulations, you end up in a position where you can progress beyond your past, but it still requires your individual responsibility. So even when you tell me, Jesuel, that according to this fifth version, four versions removed from the original, that you are supposed to give up your responsibility and submit to a higher power that you have never seen, felt, or experienced. And that higher power will give you a direct path to where you're supposed to go. You're relinquishing your own responsibility to find that path. You're relinquishing your own accountability to look for that path. And then you're also relinquishing the motivation to build your own path, which forfeits your free will, which he gave you as a gift. And when you say submit to him, it's not following the signs. It is not respecting the wisdom that is being passed down upon you. It is just bowing down subserviently to a higher power. Again, an entity that has more control over your life than what you do. Now, in this exact same book, I see you, Ubik, in this same book, he frowned upon this type of behavior. I see you, bro. He said, Morpheus, I found you. It's good that you were looking. Uh, because remember the three coins, the guys with the three coins. The fact is that one guy took a coin and invested it and gained something. One guy took a coin, invested it and lost it. One guy took a coin and buried it and brought it back to him. He was disappointed in the guy who did not take that coin and did something with it, because that is equivalent to receiving opportunities and not taking advantage of those opportunities. If you give up your responsibility to pave your own way, you're burying an opportunity in the ground and waiting for change to occur. If you take your paycheck and you put it in your bank and you wait for somebody else to pay your rent, you will get evicted. But if you take that paycheck and go and pay your rent is paid. Think about what you're saying now. Dylan said, "Oh man, new international version 6 is newer." Not the fifth version. It's Proverbs 3:5-6. The 5. Yeah, you said Proverbs. I got you. It says it right here. Proverbs 3:5-6. You said, and that's what you're talking about. Proverbs 3:5-6. So this is probably going to be, if I remember correctly, um, chapter 5, fifth paragraph, sentence 6. That's how that works. In the specific book, New International Version 5, the fifth version of the New International book that was written, which is a fifth alteration from the first version of that book, which is a different variation of the King James book, which rumors have it that King James book was written by a priest that was doing satanic stuff. So, there's that. But the fact is that it's just a sentence out of the book. It's not the whole paragraph. It's not the whole page. It's not the whole chapter. It is a quote. That's what it is. It's a quote. You can't live your life off of a quote. You can develop morals and ethics based off of a quote, like when Martin Luther King said, "Turn the other cheek," so that we can prove who the real monsters are. How many of us turn the other cheek? A lot of the times we get hit in the face and we hit back. We do not turn the other cheek. A lot of the times we get metaphorically hit in the face by having people do something dirty to us. And a lot of the times we try to get immediate revenge on that person. Whether we take physical action on them in the streets, we try to get them fired on their jobs, we file complaints with their supervisors, we file legal actions against them, call the police and try to get them arrested. We don't turn the other cheek. We don't let go of anything that we feel to be unjust towards us, unfair towards us. We take immediate negative action. So again, it is still a book. It can be, as I said earlier, the foundation of morals and ethics. I typically come from uniformity because morals and ethics are arbitrary, and they show favoritism because you stand on those morals and ethics until it compromises your favoritism. You might say fight until the person that you're fighting is bigger than you and stronger than you. You might say, submit until you have more control over the situation than somebody else. And then you're like, nah, fuck that. I'm the boss. You know, it's arbitrary. It is not finite. And because it is not finite, again, you're gonna quote one version of the scripture that doesn't really prove anything, because our original conversation was, you said Jesus loved you, and I named off 5 different religious icons that I said loved you too, and then I also said that Satan and Lucifer should love you as well for different reasons. You said no, and now you are just giving me random scriptures out of the book that do not prove anything. They're just random scriptures out of the book. It does not disprove anything that I said, and it does not prove anything either at the same time. It just shows that you know how to copy and paste off the internet. But it does not make any sense. It does not teach anybody anything. It doesn't disprove actually the higher level of knowledge that I'm able to express to you over the past 2 hours and 40 minutes. Interesting. He said, "Oh, and but he says that the fifth one is close to the end of the version when you type it. That's okay. The five is the start of the verse. So it's the fifth page. Yeah, turning the other cheek is extremely hard to do in the moment. Letting things go is hard to do, and that's actually perfect for today's discussion because when you're talking about exes in your relationships, um, you have to understand that letting that relationship go is one of the hardest things you have to do, especially the longer you have the relationship, the harder it is for you to let it go. But it does require you to, at some point, recognize that this is not healthy for you and you have to let it go. Okay, here we go. Jesus Christ died for you, uh, and no other God haven't done anything for mankind. First of all, he didn't die for me. That's not the truth. What he died for was because Judas needed some money. He snitched, and then the Romans beat him and nailed him to a wall or nailed him to a cross, poked a bunch of holes in him, let him bleed out. And he died from lack of blood. He didn't die for me because he didn't know I was here at that time. Okay. Now, if the blood of Christ washed over the land and purified all of the people in that timeline for the sins that they were created, all of their ancestors' sins are all absolved before they performed those sins. He didn't do it for me, he did it for them. And whatever inherited benefit that they get that gets passed down on to me, that's just what I get. The same way minorities can now sit in the front of the bus, but they choose to ride in the back. Whatever privileges that they benefit from because people who fought and died for the right to exist equally, those benefits are not actually utilized by those generations 10, 20 generations removed. So 2,000 years after he died, the core reason why he died, the lack of faith, I guess you would assume, the lack of unity that I guess you would assume, the lack of camaraderie is all the shit you see in current society. I mean, look at Chicago and New York. It's like hell on earth over there. And then Memphis, Tennessee. So Chicago, Illinois, Memphis, Tennessee, and New York, New York. Three states out of the United States. And this is after California, Sacramento, San Diego, and Los Angeles. Chaos because we don't value each other, we don't respect each other, we don't appreciate each other. And that is all stemming from Corinthians 1 through 31. Y'all make sure y'all like and subscribe. Hit that follow button because we touch on a lot of stuff on this and that when we talk about this, that, and everything in between. I just wanted you to understand that your logic, even with your copy and paste and your autocorrect, is still not leading to anything. I'm not saying that you're not getting good lines out of the book. I'm just saying that people who do that are not even coming with their own personal opinion. You know what that's like? I'm going to tell you what that's like. Quoting scripture from the Bible is equivalent to writing an essay where every single line in the essay has in-text citation, where absolutely nothing that was written on this paper is your personal knowledge. Absolutely nothing that is written on this paper is your personal opinion. It is just copy and paste what somebody else said in a linear fashion to be perceived as you are right. But it isn't you because that's not your opinion. That is not your facts. You did no research. You are getting all of your information from one source where I can give you 30 or 50 sources that would confirm some and disregard the rest. Make it make sense because that's what I'm here for, to make it make sense. Dylan says, but being wiser is realizing unless there is immediate threat, it's best not to worry about it. That is actually part of the areas of emotional intelligence, is that when you are smart enough to realize that certain things that are outside of your control, that are not an immediate threat to you, to let that shit go. Karen, make sure y'all like and subscribe. Everybody with the name Karen, or everybody with the behavior pattern of Karen. If some shit going down in your visibility that does not directly impact your ability to succeed, leave them people alone. Don't call the police. Don't report shit. If ain't nobody dying, don't say nothing. You see something fishy, you can take a picture and take it home with you. And then if the police come and knock on your door and ask you some questions, you can pass off the picture, but don't get involved. Stay to yourself, mind your own business. If don't nobody say help, don't go out there vigilante style trying to start shit with people who originally didn't have nothing going on. If you're the leader of your HOA, mind your own damn business, because you causing problems instead of being the person in the authoritative position to fix problems. Dylan says, very sad we don't value life more. I know. And then it's like asking Chat GTP, then asking it to read aloud, and you acting like you said it. That is exactly what's happening right now with this scripture. And what's worse, after he turns it into an audio file and then he lip syncs it, he's going to copy and paste it up here so that I can read it for him, because he didn't want to click the link in the comment section so that he could be seen on the show in real time trying to quote these scriptures in fast pace, which would not be doable unless you're an active preacher of the Bible, somebody who has studied the same one book for 30, 40, 50 years and knows it inside and out. That person can recite the different sentences that are subjugated from the entire meaning of the book to mean something completely different, because you got to understand context clues. If you take a sentence out of one paragraph and put it into another, depending on the paragraph, you can make that exact same sentence mean something completely different, which changes the value of the meaning of that sentence. Misquoting the Bible, misrepresenting the quotes out of the Bible, misrepresents the true meaning. We're supposed to get along. We're supposed to value ourselves. We're supposed to value our neighbors. We're supposed to value our family members. We're supposed to put extra effort into ourselves. We're supposed to put extra effort into other people selflessly. They're supposed to put extra effort into us. We're supposed to thrive as a people based on camaraderie and unity. But we do not. We selfishly behave. We take more than we give. We beg for what we can't earn. And then we take pride in using what we've obtained to give to those that we perceive to be less fortunate, so that we can get more social prestige because we gave something to somebody else, because we probably took more from somebody else that we deserved. I mean, it is what it is. Hold on, let's see what this guy says. Uh, but there's more rewrites of the Bible than I have in my writing class. There are more rewrites of the Bible than I have in my writing class. That's a good point. So yeah, I agree with him. Make that make sense. That makes absolutely no sense that there are so many different versions of the same book that do not tell the exact same story, but there are some common traits in it. Like I said, each one of the different versions of the book, you can read those books and you can highlight the common values in each one of those books, in the Quran and all of the other religions that they have out there, and the common values that you find in all of those religious practices. Those are the closest thing to the truth that you will have in society, and that will make you the best person that you can be in society, in your relationships, in your workplace, and ultimately The most satisfaction that you can have in your life is letting go the things that you cannot control, navigating around those conflicts, and making active and proactive change for the things that you can control in your life that you are less satisfied with. So, as it pertains to those exes, it is crucial to remember that their behaviors is a reflection of their journey, not a measure of your worth. And no one has to live in limbo of an ex's confusion. The most powerful action is to take back the control of your life by setting non negotiable expectations for behavior, focusing on personal growth, and building a life that brings happiness, independence of your actions and independent of their actions. You can find yourself individually reclaiming your own power, which makes you happier with yourself, regardless of how your ex feels. And for those struggling with this situation, professional resources such as one on one counseling are always available. And many find that sharing their own experiences in online communities such as this one and forums can be very therapeutic and help others going through the same thing. So ultimately, achieving clarity is the first step towards finding peace. So my question is for you: Are what are you going to proactively do towards finding your own peace? He said there isn't the point if the Bible stories a guide to build your morality based on the characters of the Bible. Yes, that's what I said earlier. Yeah, you weren't here for that part, but yes, that is what I said. That the overall guidelines of it is to learn and improve your own behavior patterns and characteristics, building morals and ethics that would lead you towards a better behaved life, a more socially accepted life, um, based off of the characters in the Bible. But you could learn morals and behavior from Little Red Riding Hood, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Rapunzel, Fruits Baskets. Uh, I could come up with all kinds of stories that's moral and ethical. Back in the 80s and the 90s, when cartoons came out, you learned from them cartoons how to treat people, because really that's the core values you learn is how to treat people and how to be treated by people, because that's the other half of it. How to treat people is half of the story. How you will allow people to treat you is the other half of the story. That's the non negotiable expectations for behavior that I teach you on the show, because you are first person accountability, responsible for the decisions that you make, for them decisions to impact you directly. But you are responsible for the decisions that you make that impact the people around you. You are also responsible for the decisions that the people around you make that directly impact you. So your actions are your responsibility, and your lack of action is equally your responsibility. So, when the other gentleman up there was quoting from the Bible about giving all of your faith and your willpower and all of your stuff to God, and God will pave the way and He will fix all your problems and everything to that effect. The fact is that if you do not take action, you are responsible for your outcome, not God. And if you take the wrong action, you are responsible for the outcome, not the devil, because none of us are floating in the air and then glitter and gold starts sparkling everywhere, and all of a sudden we have a better life. Your life changes because of the effort that you put into it. Your life improves because you stick to the change that you make, and your life goes to shit because you continuously make bad choices. It is what it is. He said, character morality is bad if you have to vice it on writing rather than oneself. I can agree with you on that. I can agree with you on that. The Sticking to uniformity is a little bit easier to do, because whether or not it's socially acceptable or not, the way that I am supposed to perform in this situation is the way you're supposed to perform in this situation. and there isn't supposed to be any favoritism for me, you, or anybody else in the situation. Role reversal indicates that if a person receiving benefit in a specific role, or a person receiving obligation in a specific role receives that, as long as they maintain that role, and when roles reverse, that's when you're supposed to be responsible for whatever role you've taken on. Some roles are voluntary, some roles are mandatorily imposed upon you. When you have responsibilities for a role, you have the responsibilities and the benefits. With great power comes great responsibility. With great strength comes great privilege. So those who have less to be responsible for. Those who have more to be responsible for. The point of the Bible is to reveal God's nature and will for humanity provide a path to salvation through Jesus Christ and guide believers in living a religious life. Well, no, it's not. And the reason why it's not is because the Old Testament shows zero tolerance wrath of God, allegedly, and the New Testament is all forgiving. Commit sins on Saturday, dancing on poles and selling yourself for money, and then communion on Sunday. Forgive me for I have sinned last week, and I will commit another sin next week, and all is forgiven. I will go to heaven no matter what, as long as I go to church on Sunday. New Testament, and that's not the truth. Redemption comes from you recognizing that you was once making the wrong choices in life. You have vowed to not make those wrong choices anymore in your life. And from the day that you ask for forgiveness for past actions, you never repeat those past actions to again in your life. Saying I am sorry is a form of repentance, but you are only supposed to apologize for the things that you recognize that you did wrong because you intend on not doing it again. Saying I'm sorry because the other person caught you is not apologizing for the behavior, it is apologizing for getting caught. And saying I'm sorry to the other person just to make them feel better is not you taking accountability for your actions, if your actions were even the reason why they're feeling bad in the first place. It is you just making them feel better. So when someone finds out that someone else's ancestor or family or friend is dead and they say, oh, I'm sorry because you didn't know, you're not sorry. You did nothing wrong. It's just what you're supposed to say. But I'm sorry is forgive me for I made a mistake. You didn't make a mistake. You didn't know. And I will never make that mistake again. Not talking about the dead again. You're not improving. Then again, when you say that you're going to receive salvation through Jesus Christ, you're not receiving salvation because you're misrepresenting a book that is supposed to be telling you the story of a guy's nature. A guy's nature is like telling you the story of a person's personality, a person's actions and behavior. That is not going to lead you to salvation if the goal of that is to learn how to be a better person. For example, when you start talking about the fact that Jesus was homeless, but we treat homeless people like shit. If you're going to be a Christian, why are you not living like Jesus lived? Jesus lived in a manger, which is the equivalent to a barn. He walked around with just the clothes on his back, carrying nothing with him. So why do we strive for success? He didn't even have shoes on his feet. Why are we buying $350 Jordans? What he got, more than what he could carry and more than what he could eat for himself, he shared with everybody else. So why do we have billionaires in society? You're claiming that this is a guide to righteousness, but nobody's using it as a guide to righteousness. So make that make sense for me. Gomorrah was the result of God not all aware of Gomorrah, but were all judged under one sentence. How does that make all men equal in the eyes of God? Well, first of all, Sodom and Gomorrah was not like that. The fact is that this was a group of individuals that had the opportunity to improve themselves and they chose not to. But I do agree with the fact that all men would not be equal in that situation because, like we discussed a while back, is that your boy took drastic actions of legitimate less than zero tolerance for societies that didn't behave the way he expected them to behave. under the interpretation, when you look at what was discussed before Sodom and Gomorrah got destroyed, was that what if there were, 100 people there? Oh, I'd save the city. What if there was 10? I'd save the city. What if there was one? I would save the city. Right? That was the discussion that happened. Now, you could also take that discussion and say that he was lying because the city got destroyed regardless. The warning was to whoever didn't want to get smited in that city to leave that city. If you voluntarily stayed, you were going to get destroyed. You only had enough time to leave, run, and never look back because of the use. Everybody knows that if you take off running, you're going to slow down if you look back. You don't have enough time to look back at the devastation. The time it takes for you to look back at what happened, you will be swept up in it, in the aftermath. Leave and never look back from the sins of the past. And only 3 people made it out. He still destroyed the whole freaking village. He was not going to spare nobody, good or bad. The only people who survived is the people that left because he said if at least one person remained in the village, that he would spare the village. But they had to leave because that village wasn't going to be spared regardless. So if you accepted that lifestyle, even if you were a good person, he would have smited that man too, and his 2 daughters. Think about that. Yeah, but why punish the dog? Kids beating the dog. Why punish the dog? If he's supposed to be a righteous God and he's supposed to be an all favoring God, you're right. Why punish the dog? The dog is a life. It's supposed to be the free will part. You do make good sense. That's what I was telling the other guy. It's like if the higher power that did not put responsibility in us controlled everything that happened in us, we're supposed to have a peaceful life through and through. We have chaos in our life because he gave us the ability to fuck our own life up. He gave us the ability to fix our life. He gave us the ability to live better lives. But we also have the ability to suffer from our mistakes. So waiting for a higher power to come back and change the mistakes that we made, that ain't happening because he gave you ability to do it right the first time. He gave you the ability to find out that what you're doing is wrong if you put forth the effort in learning. And then he gave you the ability to improve after you start making positive change. He is not of love from these stories, it seems, but of anger and obedience. The Old Testament. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Remember turning water into wine? Right before turning water into wine, he was telling a story about over there with the monks. One of the guys had killed a bug, and then he smited that man. Now, if you go to some of those monasteries, they sweep the ground so that they don't step on any bugs because the expectation was that taking a life, no matter how small, is a violation of God's laws, right? Now, taking a life, no matter how small, means that you're not supposed to eat animals. Because I had this conversation with Mr. Pibbs on the podcast before, because eating for substance means that you must kill to eat. If you're going to eat meat, you have to kill for substance. And if you shall not kill, it means you're not supposed to kill anything. So how do you live? How do you survive? Some of us don't know what it's like to not have meat in our food. How do you survive? And that's not just meat. That's meat. That's eggs. You know what I mean? Then you got to come from the perspective of, did that even include the life of trees and grass? How does that work? Because trees are alive until you cut them down. Grass is alive until you cut it with a lawnmower or hit it with poison. You know what I mean? So uniformly speaking, how would you survive? Now, when you start changing it up to saying, oh, well, don't kill unnecessarily, then you have to determine what is unnecessarily. Guess where unnecessarily comes from? Unnecessarily comes from the laws of self defense. If you didn't have to kill that person, you shouldn't. Now they've changed it recently, stand your ground laws, where you can kill just because they tried to kill you, even if they retreated and gave up on the idea of killing you, you can kill them, which ideally in that situation is revenge. But we're just going to say, for the sake of self defense, is supposed to be the act of only killing when necessary. Hunting for substance, not hunting for sport. It's only killing when necessary. So then when you think about thou shalt not kill, everybody who hunts for fun, they kill the animal just for the sake of killing the animal. They don't eat the animal. They just kill it. It's dead. They might cut off the head and use the horns to decorate their house, but they don't really do anything else with that. That's unnecessary killing. So yeah, that's where you're at with that. Humans have free will, not animals. Humans and animals have free will, but animals that have been domesticated do not have um, self-preservation skills, because society has evolved to the magnitude where, unless they're wild animals, they don't know how to feed themselves. So when they become domesticated, they become excessively codependent of their owner. If their owner doesn't feed them, they starve to death. But they get up and go to the bathroom when they have to go to the bathroom. They eat when there's something edible around. If the door is open and they want to go outside, they go outside. They get extensively disciplined by their owner, so they have less uh free will because of the humans that own them. But you're not quoting the scripture of the man who cares for his beast is closer to God than any other. So a person traveling with their dog is probably closer to God than a person without, if you're going to take that scripture and throw it up. So think about it. Alcoholism with all these wine stories. Tell me about it. Wait, not just the alcoholism, because right after the Sodom and Gomorrah story, the man took his two daughters into the mountain. They got him drunk. Each one of them got pregnant by their father. They both had sons. Those sons became kings in two different countries. One of those sons lost his crown because he lusted for a man's wife. That man's wife was a sister. Why is all this incest in the Bible, but we frown upon it in society? And when we think about, not only is there incest because the man got his two daughters pregnant, those were supposed to be kids. So not only do we have we got a lot of stuff going on in this book. So I mean, you can't just quote certain scripture out of the book and then try to make it seem like the book is all encompassing righteousness. It's not. It's telling of an error, allegedly telling the story of an error, and you can learn from that error if you pay attention, right? That's like saying Jesus was a hypocrite using his magical power with the bread and the fish. Tell me about it. Because if he could have turned what was it, two fish and a loaf of bread into enough food to feed 40 people, why not do away with hunger? Give them just enough to keep coming back. Isn't that control? Isn't that control? I don't know. It said food and animals was made to serve man as well. I mean, but if you're going to say that, the women that were made from the rib of the man was made to serve man as well. No woman is going to agree to that. That book says that women are supposed to be helpers. The women aren't helpers these days. These women have taken over the world, and with mighty well so, because at least they have focus. But the fact is that if they're supposed to help, help means that you have to know what needs to be done. And a lot of times, knowing what needs to be done means that you have to either ask or do as you're told. That's how you help. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. In order for you to help somebody in need, you have to ask them what they need done. They have to tell you what you need to do to help them, and then you have to do what you can to help them. You put that into a relationship between two romantic partners. In order for a woman to know what a man needs, she has to ask him what he needs, which she usually doesn't. Men ask women what she wants and what she needs, and she typically makes him figure it out. Because she doesn't ask, men tell women what the men want and need, and women find that oppressive and misogynistic. But if she would have asked, he would have had to tell her anyway. You know. It's kind of that double-edged sword. Women are supposed to be submissive. It's written in the book. There you go. So now you got 165 million women in America that are gonna hate this podcast right now because that's written in the book. That's written in the book. But truth be told, it's not so much the submission of, it's the fact that you're not supposed to dominate this situation. You're supposed to have a level of humbleness to get in where you fit in and help out your tribe, your family, your group, to make your group successful. That's the goal. The goal is for y'all to thrive together, not for you to dominate this man's estate. He's not supposed to be dominating you. He's supposed to be caring for you, and you are supposed to be caring for him differently than him caring for you, because he provides you with all the tools and resources that you need to thrive. And you put effort into his life to keep his life organized so that he can provide for you. Now, women can provide for themselves, but they choose to get married, and they're supposed to marry a man that is capable of providing for her what she can provide for herself. That is someone that's on her level. So you're not, if you're a $50,000 woman, you're looking for a $50,000 man because he can provide you with the lifestyle that you can provide for yourself. Women don't look for that. If she's a $50,000 woman, she wants a $75,000 man so that he can provide her with a lifestyle she cannot provide for herself, which means she is not on his level. He is above her. But that's by her choice, not because women aren't good enough, not because women aren't capable enough, but because they choose to find better than what they are. Now, one of the worst things we have in our current society is that women are striving to be the best man that they can be. And then they're trying to find a man that's better than that. Go to college, 5 degrees, get you a job, become a CEO, and now you're trying to find a CEO of a Fortune 500 company that's better than the company that you're working for. Because any man that's less than your success is not on your level. But if you call yourself successful by meeting your expectations of the kind of man that you want, and then you're going to look for a man that's better than that, you're setting unrealistic expectations as a woman. You can be the best you that you can be. You can be the partner. You can be the CEO of the company, but you should be able to accept a partner. You should be able to accept the mailman. You should be able to accept the janitor. You should be able to accept the manager of the McDonald's that you get your burgers and fries from at lunch. And then y'all can still cooperate and build a life together. But that requires you to proactively accept that you are not in this relationship for yourself. You're in this relationship for the group, because it's you, your husband, and any kids that y'all create. Sometimes it's you, your husband, your mom and daddy, aunt and uncle, his mom and daddy, aunt and uncle, and all the kids that y'all create. You're in it for your tribe. So it is not independence that women are supposed to be striving for. It's supposed to be self sufficiency, because self sufficiency allows you to hold the fort down until reinforcements arrive. Independence allows you to sacrifice the team so that you can succeed. You don't need nobody else. So they're just pawns in your ability to be successful, you know? But again, self sufficiency allows for, behind every strong black man is a strong black woman. Behind every man is a strong woman. And those things come from the fact that if he is striving for success and he has a person that's dedicated to succeed with him, she will do what it takes to make sure that he succeeds so that he can take his success and share it with her, even if that means helping her succeed. The way Michelle helped Obama become president, so that his position as a president puts her as a first lady over her social justice position. Instead of her making change from the bottom up, her husband became the leader of the country with her help so that she could change from the top down. That is how you strive for success. A lot of modern women these days want to find a man that will boost her career, pay for her education, and do all of these things to motivate and build her up. And a lot of times, these women will take all of the benefits they get from that man, and then they leave that man and go find another man to build him up even more. But the question is, what are women willing to do to build up a man? Because to get the semi-perfect man, women have to build a man. You're not going to find a perfect man. You will accept the man that you got standing in front of you. But if he meets all of your expectations, you have a duty to perform because that high commodity man is sought after by a lot of women. But if you find a man that not too many people are interested in and you build that man up to the type of man that every woman would want, you are entitled to everything that he is because you made him that way. But I mean, if you found him that way, you have to pass a background check, you have to pass a credit check, you have to pass the the entry exam, you have to prove that you are worthy of this level of success because you didn't build this success. You don't earn anything that he gives you. You only earned it if you helped him get there. So I'm going to leave y'all with that. I'm going to start off by saying, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you ladies to make it make sense. So ladies, please make it make sense. Now, fellas, I give y'all this information to help y'all become higher value men. So y'all can take this information and use it. And ladies, while this is a male-driven podcast from the male's perspective, this information is utilizable by you to make yourselves higher value women. As I told you earlier, make sure that you take the proactive effort to change the things in your life that you can control and then navigate around the things that you can't. Once you have changed all of the things that you're not satisfied in your life that you can control, you will find yourself with a happier life. That's what we're here for, this and that. With that being said, I want to thank you guys for coming to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Chase validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt upon the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher, constantly making my own climb. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command.